Sports Illustrated has published an incredibly thorough and highly disturbing investigation into the Dallas Mavericks. SI's reporter spoke to more than a dozen employees. Those employees gave repeated, consistent accounts of a corporate culture that has been downright hostile to women, starting at the very top with the man who led the organization as its president and CEO for nearly 20 years. That man's name is Terdema Ussery, and he left the Mavericks 3 years ago, but the article describes how in his decades with the team, Ussery routinely propositioned women who worked for him. Go to a meeting with the head of your company, the women at the Mavericks told SI, and be ready for him to try to fondle your thigh or your calf or physically corner you in an elevator or ask you to sleep with him, or in one particularly gross story, have him tell you in the middle of a team dining room how he's picturing you as part of a gangbang. And of course, when the team president is acting like that, well, the employees SI spoke to say that set a tone for men throughout the organization, a tone of preying on women from all sides, a tone that they say hasn't changed even since Ussery left. So did these women complain to HR, to their supervisors? Yes, they told SI, but then they were told to toughen up. Or in one woman's case, she reports being actually threatened if she didn't keep her mouth shut. Now, Ussery himself denies all of these allegations. He told SI in a statement, quote, "I am deeply disappointed that anonymous sources have made such outright false and inflammatory accusations against me." He then added that, quote, "During my nearly 20-year tenure with the Mavericks, I am not aware of any sexual harassment complaints about me or any findings by the organization that I engaged in inappropriate conduct." Yeah, that last part, that's just actually a flat-out lie. Read the Dallas Morning News clips from all the way back in 1998. You will see that Ussery was the subject of a 6-week internal investigation for just this kind of contact. Of course, internal investigation is another way of saying that the men who worked for the CEO were told to investigate their boss, and guess what? He was cleared. I am shocked. Interestingly, when Ussery finally left the Mavs, it was for a big job with Under Armour. You want to know how long he lasted there? Less than 2 months. The SI report details how a female employee reported him to HR for, being sexually inappropriate with her in an elevator. And unlike the Mavericks, Under Armour appears to have actually done something about it. And that's really the key here. Are you a business that is okay with this kind of stuff, or aren't you? With the Mavericks, the problem does seem to be institutional, especially when you consider what happened with another team employee, Earl Snead. Back in 2011, Snead beat his girlfriend, leaving her with a broken wrist, multiple bruises. Police charged him. Snead pled guilty. That's bad in itself. It also meant Snead could no longer travel to Canada, which he needed to do when the Mavericks played the Raptors. But hey, the Mavs decided to keep him on staff anyway. In fact, Snead ended up dating another Mavericks employee who in 2014 showed up to work with a swollen face and told HR that Snead had hit her. Again, the team didn't fire Snead. Instead, and this is truly jaw-dropping, Snead tells the Dallas Morning News that it was all okay since, hey, the team had him sign a contract promising he'd no longer have one-on-one fraternization with any female employees. You've got to be kidding me. Think about what message that sends to every woman in the office. This guy can hit one of you, and we are going to keep him around and make you continue to see him every day and work with him. And that's just the women inside the team who knew what was going on. Snead had a job where he was with the Mavericks on road trips, putting him to work and travel situations with any number of women who work with the NBA, who had no idea they were hanging out with a man who had repeatedly turned violent. ESPN.com's Tim McMahon spoke to Mark Cuban about Snead this morning. Cuban admitted that after Snead was arrested, he simply accepted Snead's version of events and never even read the police report. Now, to his credit, Cuban took full responsibility for keeping Snead employed, saying, quote, "It was a horrible mistake in hindsight." And yesterday, he fired Snead. As for Ussery, who Cuban worked side by side with for years, well, Cuban won't answer questions about Ussery. He did tell SI, quote, "This is all new to me." He also told SI, quote, "I want to deal with this issue. I mean, there's obviously a problem in the Mavericks organization, and we've got to fix it. That's it. We're going to take every step. It's not something we tolerate." So what are the steps? Well, Cuban has suspended his HR director. He has also hired a law firm to launch an investigation. The firm is led by a former prosecutor in the Manhattan District Attorney's Office. And hey, the Mavericks should get credit for hiring someone with a strong ethical reputation. But there's still plenty of questions here. Because how independent is this investigation when the Mavericks are hiring someone for this instead of the NBA itself? Will the report be public? And if so, who from the league or the team will get their hands on editing it or trying to get out in front of it before it is released? And how does a man like Mark Cuban, who repeatedly brags about how hands-on he is as an owner, who last year, you may remember, got involved in the minutia of counting the number of games team beat writers attended when deciding how to hand out credentials, say that he never knew any of the stories that it took a couple of reporters just a few months to collect? And if he really didn't know about that situation that was clearly so pervasive, what does that say? And how many other teams have issues like this we haven't heard about yet? The answers here won't be easy, but we need to find them because this game is too good, the sport is too good, this league is too good to let something this bad continue. And you can hear my voice. I stumbled over a few words there. This is so frustrating, so upsetting. What is your reaction when you hear all this?
It upsets me because you have to put in effort to make a woman feel uncomfortable. You have to think about that. You have I go out my way in workplaces, especially you and women around here, to go out my way to make women feel comfortable, to compliment them, to make them feel comfortable in the workplace. You have to really be a miserable person or an insecure person to feel like you have to use your power to make a woman sleep with you or to disrespect women. I think it's totally out of line. If they don't handle this in the best way possible and come down as hard as they can, then a lot of people are going to look at this league definitely at the Dallas Mavericks, as they're known for covering up stuff and not handling stuff the right way. You have to handle this the right way. You have to really stand on this tough right now and nip this in the bud.
Stack, the sad part about it is I don't think this is a Dallas Mavericks specific issue. I think this kind of behavior I've heard happens in a lot of places. Mm-hmm. And we like to think, like you said, because we have a great sport. It's an exciting time. We have the players who are the faces of our league are upstanding guys. Our commissioner is a very understanding guy, a guy who gets it.
Progressive.
We like to think that makes us immune or we live in a bubble. Like the rest of the world has this madness, but not us, and that's not true. This is pervasive through society. It's not just Hollywood. It's not just Capitol Hill. It's us too. It's the NBA, and like Stack said, is you have to be a real monster. Some of the stuff we heard there, that's not just, hey, I was just trying to be nice and she misconstrued it as me hitting on her. That's predatory behavior, repeated predatory behavior for decades, not just recently. So pervasive and so in your face with it and over the top that the next job he got, he couldn't even keep for a couple months.
It's just amazing me too, because I think I've heard through all these conversations over the last 4 or 5 months, this stuff has been so in the news. There's some men around me who have said, oh, well, I don't even know what to do anymore. How do you know how to act? It's not that hard. It's really not. Don't stick your hands somewhere you know that they don't belong. Don't make a woman feel like she has to sleep with you to keep her job. Mm-hmm. Don't make her run away and have to quit what might be, hey, look, this is the NBA, right? This could be her dream job. They had several women in these articles who had to leave the team, go find work somewhere else. And anyone who's out finding work right now can tell you that's not the easiest thing in the world these days either.
Especially in this business.
In this business.
And no matter what the economy is like, this business is a hard job to get into.
For a woman.
And for anyone, but specifically for a woman, yes. Mm-hmm. It's a hard job to get into, it's hard to keep. You gotta put up with a lot of stuff, and so I'm sick to my stomach right now just thinking about it. Like things like cornering people in elevators.
Like you have to be a real person.
A predator, man.
You're dying inside. You have to be a person that's dying inside to do that to a woman, and especially with the possession of power. And that's the biggest problem because, like you said, it's probably not the only place because a lot of guys in the position of power are guys with low self-esteem. Yeah. I've been around them, and they use that, and it's definitely not right. And if they don't do something to nip this in the bud right now and show some force, it's going to be a big problem.
I want to say something that you said off air, but I'm gonna share it with the world. If that happened to a player, what would the story look like today?
This is so, right? See, this to me is a fascinating point of discussion, right? Because players are public facing, right? And they get exposed if they act like this, which in this case, I want to read you this. We'll start this, and then we'll go backward. This is a quote from a female senior staffer when she was asked about the players. She said, quote, "I dealt with players all the time. I had hundreds of interaction with players. I never once had an issue. They always knew how to treat people. Then I'd go to the office, and it was this zoo, this complete expletive show. My anxiety would go down dealing with the players. It would go up when I got to my desk." And that is what I'm talking about. The players have at least some accountability publicly, and these front office people didn't.
Yeah, and that goes. They try to compete with players. They, it goes to low self-esteem. But I'm glad you said that, because the perfect example. It was All-Star Weekend, just like I said. If I would have been in trouble, I got arrested, it would have been all over the news.
Would have led every show.
It would have been all over the news. Why are we not talking about this? Why are we not nipping in this? And Mark Cuban talked about he didn't know all this. Well, you are hands-on. You're the first guy to stand up there and hold that trophy up when you won the championship, taking credit for everything that's done. Now you didn't know. I don't like that. If you're going to take credit for a championship, be in there and take credit for having an F up in your organization and handle it.
That's the whole point of being the boss, right? Like, you get the credit when good things happen. When bad things happen, you get the blame. Not because you were complicit in it, but that's your position. The buck stops here, right? Well, the buck came to his desk. Like you said it more eloquently than I can. Either he knew and he doing anything about it, or he's just so oblivious.
You're making me money. I can sweep that term. You're making me money.
Yeah, I mean, you can't. Either way, it's not good. It's not a good look on him.
Well, one thing that I want to get back to is sort of recourse, because I think what is frustrating for so many women, and I have been in this position personally, is that you don't feel like you have recourse. You can go to, as these women did, you can go to HR, you can go to a supervisor, but if those avenues get shut down and you don't see the organization taking things seriously, what do you do? Do you quit and you become the troublemaker? I've had people say to me in certain situations, "Oh, you could sue them." What, you become the person suing the Dallas Mavericks?
Right.
That's going to get you a job somewhere else ever?
Right.
So I would like to see the NBA set up some sort of avenue for the people who work for their teams, and I understand the teams are privately owned, but they are affiliated with the NBA, so they can communicate maybe in some sort of direct way with the league office, with some sort of liaison, to get their concerns heard in a way where they won't be penalized. Or just saying, "Hey, I am being abused."
The thing about it, specifically in this case, is you have a man who wasn't one, not two, not his reputation was so strong on this point that when a new female employee would come on, they'd pull her aside. "Hey, watch out for him. Don't be around him." I mean, when you get to that level right there, man, that's an issue. And I'm with you. I think there has to be some sort of hotline or anonymous or whatever that people can feel safe to whistleblow without it coming back upon them on repercussions.
I mean, look, this is a complicated thing. It is not just the NBA. It is not just the Dallas Mavericks who are having this exposed right now. I will give the NBA a little bit of a benefit of the doubt here. They have shown themselves for decades to be progressive, to be supportive of women, to be supportive of diversity. I would like to see what they are going to do there, and I would frankly ask them, we are counting on you to do the right thing here. We need you to do the right thing and show the rest of the country, the rest of sports, that there are ways to handle this. There are ways to make it better. I believe that's true. I want to see them do it. What do you think the ceiling is for this team?
For me, championship is definitely the ceiling, but I think if they can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, then they have a chance. I really don't see their chance being too high right now with the new Cleveland team, with the way Toronto's playing. It's going to be harder for them now. If they can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals, they got a great chance of winning an NBA championship, because I know how he plays in big games. He really steps up. So I give them the Eastern Conference Finals. They get there, sky's the limit.
Yeah, I won't go as far as championship for this season, but definitely the NBA Finals. I think that's a realistic goal for them. Like Stack, I will put them behind the Cavs and the Raptors, but they're not so far behind where you don't have a chance. So the Finals is definitely a realistic goal for them.
Can we do a campaign jointly to get Kyrie to start singing, come back on the show? Because he was on last week during All-Star, and I mean, apparently he sings a lot, so I think...
we got to sing,
He sings a lot. He sings a lot.
Hold on, but we got rights fees and stuff like that. I don't know. Maybe a digital thing. Maybe
if they, I'm gonna strike a deal with them. If they actually go win a title one of these years, he has to come on the jump.
And I'll sing with him.
Song and stack it. We'll make it happen. This is the jump. We televise the draft, All-Star draft. That looks like it's happening next year. We can make stuff happen here.